دولار. يلا بدنا ندخل لايف بس بعدنا ما تجي.
نو تسجل لايف.
بس كيف الساين ملهم؟ متى اعرف متى اطلع لايف؟
بعدين اوكي نو ساوند نو ساوند هي
كل ما يساوند.
Asyad, Oman's symphony to the world.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone and welcome to Asyad Group webinar series, which is a continuation of Asyad QHSSC awareness throughout the year. I am Ahmed Al-Rawahi, the Group QHSSC Manager, and I will be delighted to facilitate today's webinar, which is quite known by now to be steering the maritime safety into the future with innovations and technology at the helm. Of course, discussing this topic today will be alongside from different angles with different regulators and operators, either online or either at the studio in Asyad. We take this opportunity today to send a token of appreciation to all of the seafarers across the globe, not only from the ports, not only from the ships, be it at everywhere where we are talking about, for their dedication and for their vital role as a key players and a backbone for a global maritime industry. That being said, they will be keeping the world connected and ensuring the smooth movement of goods and safeguarding international trade, of course. This year's theme, as most of you have known by now, it's Navigating the Future, Safety First, is a perfect reflection of the dedication and the resilience and professionalism they bring to the seas. So salute to all of them, wherever you are. Without further ado, and on your behalf, dear audience, let me introduce and to welcome my honored guests who accepted our invitation to share their thoughts as a subject matter experts. With us from Norway, we have Mr. Erik Ovrum, Principal Consultant in Maritime Environment and Technology at DNV Classification Society. With us here in Asyad Studio, we have Captain Ala Aziz, Operation Manager from Asyad Shipping. And as well as from the flag or representative from the flag, Captain Nuh Al-Subhi, Director of Navigation and Maritime Safety.
economy, and as well environmental sustainability. And the objective of this celebration is to promote the safety, security, and by implementing the marine regulation, and as well to highlight the advancement in maritime technology. We are talking right now about automation and green shipping initiatives.
So that's wonderful. So, as a flag and as a start, connecting what you are saying directly to the theme, how would you mitigate the impact on seafarers from a safety perspective, of course, and explaining the impact of navigational hazards on them? Of course, your experience with that would add a value to enlighten us.
Yeah, basically we have to increase the awareness among the mariners, and we have to be more keen about the platforms. In accordance to our records in 2023, most of the maritime accidents happens because of the platforms is not seaworthy. And add to that the basic training or knowledge for the sailors is not fair enough to deal with the incident. So we are trying to conduct with the partners the courses and awareness how to deal with the incident and emergencies.
That's good. So, any data that you can share with us as a flag, of course, you are overseeing the whole of the Sultanate, and of course, you are connecting with the regulators. So, any data that you can share with us from the effect of a safety on either on board the ship or either for those who are working at the ports?
Yeah. Actually, I've got a couple of slides if I could share it to you.
Please.
And I will go through all these matters. I would like to, I don't know, is the slide is shown to you?
I believe the team is working on them. Maybe it's uploading now. No worries, until it's getting uploaded, we can discuss any project is going on
First
with the.
Yeah. Basically, I will highlight the role and achievement of Ministry of Transport, Communication and Information Technology
Yes.
to enhance the safety of navigation. So we start to define the navigational hazard. Basically, it's a physical obstacle or conditions, because navigation hazards could be something variable, such as the weather phenomena. So these could pose or cause a risk to the safe navigation for vessels in the waterways. The real challenge is we are talking about dynamic surfaces with hidden obstacles. So to identify or forecasting these hazards in real time required a significant resources and coordination as well. So according to statistics on 2023, in respect to human casualties, we have over than 1,200 human losses worldwide. We have health risk and marine pollution. There's lots of studies state that plastic particles increasing in the water column last decade. Repair and salvage costs, supply chain disruption. This led to the legal accountability and regulatory enforcement. We are, as a Maritime Authority department, we focused on the regulations to reduce all these risks. So in international regulation aspects, Sultanate of Oman accession to the IMO, International Maritime Organization, in 1974. And this joining or accession to the IMO basically reflect Oman commitment to applying international standard in the maritime safety or environmental protection.
Maybe if you are able to show the screen now.
Yeah,
Are you trying to upload it, or maybe the team here at the studio, maybe they can show?
Yeah, okay. I will try. Show. I don't know if your team could upload it.
Okay, so the team anyway will be working on this for the meanwhile.
Shall I continue, or we wait for the presentation?
So okay, no worries. You can, yes. Now it's, I think it's shown from our side.
I am the international regulation slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 3. So basically, IMO, as already mentioned, has sub committees, and we talking about Maritime Safety Committee, Legal Committee, and Environment Committee, and all other committees. In addition to that, their sub-organization came under this IMO. For instance, we have IHO, International Hydrographic Organization, and Oman joined this organization in 1992. Basically, this organization concerned about bathymetric survey and producing a navigational chart, either paper or electronic one, ENCs. And recently, the IALA has been announced as an organization, and there is a royal decree to Oman to join to this organization. And we have as well other conventions. For example, we have International Convention for Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, which sets the minimum standard for ship construction, operation, and to ensure the safety for the ship. We've got the International Regulation for Prevention Collision at Sea, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, International Convention on Standard of Training, Certifications, and Watchkeeping for seafarers. We have 2 MOUs. Oman joined Riyadh MOU and Indian Ocean MOU. We have International Shipboard Facility Security Code, ISPS code. As well, we've got 2 protocols or amendment related to maritime safety and cargo load lines as well. Moving to the national regulation. Of Sultanate of Oman. Moving to the governance or ministerial structure, the Navigation and Maritime Safety Department is fall under the Maritime Authority, represented by the Directorate General of Maritime Affairs, and there is a direct coordination as shown with the OTSP or Oman Transport Safety Bureau in case of any accident or incident, marine incident. Diving deep into the three section, which is starting with the maritime navigation section, port stage control section, ships and ports security section. Maritime navigation section, basically they are responsible for issuing navigation permit for foreign ships operating in the territorial sea, participation in Maritime Safety Committee, monitoring the implementation of maritime laws and regulation, dealing with the maritime incident in coordinate with the OTSP department, coordination with all affairs regarding the navigational aids, participation in international regional meetings related to maritime safety and environment. The second one is port state section, control, preparing and implementing the annual inspection plan for foreign ships visiting Omani ports, submitting inspection reports and database of both MOUs. As I mentioned, we have two MOUs, Riyadh and Indian Ocean, training and qualifying new inspectors, participation in meetings of the MOUs, supporting OTSP, investigating maritime incident, providing statistics inspected ship for each MOU. The last bit is ships and port security section. They are concerned to ensuring the implementation of the international ships and port facility security as this code, reviewing and evaluating security plans, implementing decision and recommendation of the IMO, take necessary measurement to enhance support security, enforcing and documenting violation of the provision of the agreements, activation of the main committee to monitor implementing the ship and port security regulation.
Okay, so Captain Noor, I will come to that
Yes.
point, of course, and we can continue, but this is reminding me, or this is touching upon, of course, safety of navigation, which is a chapter 5 from Asolas. And this is again taking us to Captain Ala. Maybe he can shed a light on this one. We'll come back to your presentation. So Captain Ala, as Captain Noor was talking about, overall they are maintaining safety of navigation and the safety overall as from the inspection point of view. So we know that during this year, as a 2024, the IMO is marking 50 years since the adoption of SOLAS 1974 and the key IMO treaty regulating maritime safety, of course. So linking that with the theme that we have on the technology, how do you see that a balance between a technology on board the ship and the human element or the seafarer's capability on board the ship? Would that compensate the seafarers one day, or that reducing the number of them? So would you just shed a light on the aspect of this one, please?
First of all, Mr. Ahmed, thank you for having us here, and thank you for this initiative, part of ASIAD, which has, appreciating this day and appreciating the importance of such a industry. And very, lots of big thanks to Captain Noor for shedding light on all the, legislations and the international requirements that we need to abide by. And of course, as an international shipping company, this is the minimum standards of the IMO, which we're supposed to always abide by. So to kick things off, as far as balancing between the technologies that we have and the expertise, as you very well know, the shipping industry is probably one of the top 5 riskiest industry, and the dynamics may vary, in a very huge spectrum. So with that being said, it is extremely important for us to, implement new technologies and take that into account and to see how we could enhance our navigational procedures and whatnot. But it is also extremely important for us to understand that the industry was also built on a very long history, where we have learned a lot from previous mistakes, not necessarily ours, but the industry as a general. So we cannot take away that experience. It is extremely important for us to, always go back to what we have learned and always to capitalize on that. So with that being said, there is an extremely fine line between over-relying on technology and actually utilizing the expertise that we have built over the years, or the industry has built over the years. If you may allow me to give you a couple of examples where there is a fine line between technology and
Yes.
expertise. For example, the weather routing services that we always provide for our vessels. Of course, using technology and forecasted information, we are able to ascertain what could potentially be a weather at a certain area during a voyage, for example. So it would be, wise for us to take this into account, but at the same time, we also understand that those predictive tools may not always be 100% accurate.
Correct. Yes.
So with that being said, the captain would be given guidance in order for him to complete his voyage, to what we think or what the technology thinks. But at the end of the day, the experience that the captain has and him living the actual reality of what's happening at sea, he does have all the overriding authority to do whatever he seems best during that. Even if we give him an instruction based on technology, at the end of the day, he has all the overriding authority in order to depart from that and do what he thinks is best for the safety of the ship, safety of the crew, and of course, safety of the cargo and the environment. Another example here is where technology helps the seafarers a lot is, for example, the autopilot. The autopilot is something which is utilized on a daily. But there are certain parts of the voyage which are very critical, which we require to have a man, on hand steering, doing everything manually, to make sure that technology does not put us in a situation where we don't want to be in. So there is, without a doubt, there is lots of room for technology to add to us. And I will also be shedding light on how AI has been also giving us an advantage when it comes to vessel performance monitoring. But it is always important to understand that history has built us to where we are today. And we cannot depart from these procedures which we have been following and which have proved for a long time that they have been very successful.
That's right. And when you talk about the procedures, this is ringing a bell about the part of it as the training and elevating the capability of the seafarers. And always when we talk about SOLAS, we have to talk side by side as STCW. So, and this has taken us to another aspect related to the training. So, how did the training and auditing will enhance safety on board the ship, providing that you have just talking now about the technology and the AI being developed along with a SIAD shipping fleet?
That's a very good question, honestly, because considering again the dynamics of the industry and of course our seafarers at the end of the day is our biggest asset. They comprise of approximately, if we take the office staff, we're only probably 5 to 10% of the seafarer staff. We have almost 2,000 seafarers working on our vessels today. So with that being said, there is always a change of people. We don't always retain 100% of people. People come, people leave. So we're not always dealing with the same people. That's number one. Of course, the dynamics of the industry, and as I was mentioning earlier, as far as learning from our previous mishaps or the industry's mishaps, there is always a continuous improvement process when it comes to the caliber or to the standards. Of course, with that being said, the STCW has a very clear-cut requirement on what are the minimum requirements for one to work at sea. And of course, here at SIAD Shipping, we always try to go above and beyond what is the minimum requirements from STCW. So of course, we take the training and audits from two different aspects. We take it from the vessels as well as our SIAD Shipping as a company. So the vessels are always undergoing audits as far as internal and external audits in a duration of 3 to 6 months. That is something which is always happening. What we will also do as SIAD Shipping, as far as having internal audits, we would always, maybe once a year, we will hire a third party, a new set of eyes who will be able to maybe have a different approach, because when it becomes more of a routine thing, then we can maybe miss something. Complacency. That's a good way of putting it. So having a third party to carry out our internal audits can also shed some light on various important aspects as well. Of course, also we have many different affiliations with major, like all majors, as in like Shell. So we are always using the best industry standards. So like Shell has a very good system called Resilience, where there is continuous videos being updated and shared with the vessels. We always also have the learning from incidents, and Shell has a very good LFI, or learning from incidents, which are extremely important for us to share upon our vessels. So everything that happens outside our vessels is also being shared to our vessels. Of course, also us as a company, we since we are managing tankers, we have also different oil majors which are auditing us. It's more of a self-assessment, part of the TMSA. So we are also having those programs in order for us to improve our procedures and to see what gaps need to be covered. So our procedures are always being updated and always staying to the standards of a leading and a prudent shipping company.
That's right.
So of course, training and audits, this is something which will never stop.
Exactly.
It is always continuous improvement there. And this is something which, the standard procedures are being reviewed at a 6-monthly basis, and this is something which is always on continuous improvement.
That's good. That's good to hear that. Well, part of what we have discussed now, you're talking about trainings not only will be limited for those who are working on bridge. Of course, the rest of the equipment on the vessel will be heavily relied on. So how do you see that equipment, not only on the bridge, the overall equipment on board the ship will be efficient to enhance the navigational safety?
Of course, here, Mr. Ahmed, is when it comes down to the navigational equipment that we are utilizing, and yes, I do agree that navigators today, I would not say over-rely, but it is very difficult to be able to manage today without the onboard equipment.
That's right, yeah.
As far as navigation safety, and with the shipping industry growing so much, and you have places like Singapore Strait, for example, where the amount of traffic is incredible. So relying on those navigation equipment is something which is inevitable.
Yes.
Yeah. But when it comes down to this is where the training comes into play as well. It is very important for the seafarers out there to understand exactly what they are working with. All the principles that the navigation equipment that they are using needs to be, of course, understood properly in order to know how to make the use of the equipment you are using. What we are doing here as well, in order to enhance the navigational safety and making sure that everything is being utilized properly, as you very well know, we have a VDR on the vessel, which is a voyage data recorder. And for our, if I may shed light on this, for our audience who may not be familiar with this, it is basically the black box of the vessel, of the vessel, where you could always go back and see what was the historical events that actually occurred during an incident. Of course, the VDR is usually there to, go through an incident or an accident that occurred.
Yes.
But as a proactive approach for us, what we do in order for us to ascertain and to see whether, our procedures or, may be enhanced, or to see if there is some gaps in the way our seafarers are working, we would, take random vessels every once in a while. And this is an initiative which has been started now. And instead of utilizing the VDR data only in cases of emergency or incidents, we are using this in order to ascertain whether our seafarers are going as according to our GMS requirements or our standing procedure requirements for navigation. So what we can do is we will take like a critical part of the voyage, let's just say like Singapore Straits or the English Channel or any place which is could be critical. And we will be able to pull out all the data. So the way the radars were being used, the way the EGDIS is being used, and every single equipment that is on board, in addition to the conversations that occurred in the bridge, the conversations that occurred between the bridge and the engine room, all these things are available to us, and we are able to take a real-time judgment of how things are being conducted on board.
Indeed.
So this is a new approach that we are taking in order to utilize our onboard equipment, to our advantage, and to see how we can enhance our safety on board.
That's perfect. Good to talk about this and to shed a light on it. And speaking of safety of navigation, or the navigating the future and safety first, it's not only limiting ourselves to talk about safety, but also it's about an environment which is going side by side, especially if you talk about the ISM code, or International Safety Management Code. It's shedding a light, or its focus on the safety and also in the environment. And this is what has been mentioned by the IMO Secretary General, Mr. Kiteklian. And this might be an interest for Mr. Eric Ovrum. You are with us on the line? Mr. Eric?
I think my mic is working.
Yes. It's loud and clear.
Okay.
So I was
Loud and clear.
connecting the theme and the discussion and a wonderful example that was being shared by Captain Ala and Captain Nuh, and connecting to that with ISM code and the quote that I was getting from Mr. Kitak Lim, the Undersecretary, when he said that this theme would allow us to focus on a full range of safety regulatory implications raising from new and adaptive technologies, and the introduction of alternative fuel, including measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from ships. So to get a flavor from DMV Classification Society and their practices, and based on your experience, how would you share it, and how would you encapsulate the information and the data that it's been forecasted by DMV from now until 2050?
Well, it's definitely uncertain times going forward, but we have strong incentives and regulations and other drivers that are pushing the maritime industry to test new technologies for reducing emissions and the costs that are going to come with those. And this is in turn leading to what I think can, maybe when we look back at this 20 years from now, I think this will be called a golden age of innovation in shipping.
Yes.
With so many things are happening. For us right now, it seems like difficulties, but really we in the industry is testing a lot of new technologies.
Right. So any statistics or data that you have captured from the Classification Society auditing throughout the ships that they are reporting to the DMV, or any data that you can just forecast from your point of view, or any information that you have prepared for us?
Yes, absolutely. I will share my screen now. I think I should be sharing my presentation.
Yes, sure.
Yes, okay. So, we have an annual report we call the Maritime Forecast to 2050, where we look at trends in shipping that will work towards decarbonizing shipping. And as I said, emissions regulations are coming that will impose a cost on emissions. For example, in the EU waters from 2024, this year is the first year where ships are subject to the EU emissions trading system. They will have to pay a CO2 price for emissions next year. At the same time, next year we will have the Fuel EU maritime regulations that will impose a requirement on the greenhouse gas fuel intensity on energy used during a year, and effectively forcing the use of qualified low greenhouse gas fuels. At the same time, the IMO is working on implementing its greenhouse gas strategy, developing what is called a basket of measures with two elements: a technical element, which will be a mandate on reduced greenhouse gas fuel intensity, and an economic element, which will be some kind of greenhouse gas pricing mechanism, possibly including flexibility pooling. So what we've seen in the industry is that the industry is responding to these drivers and regulations by half the order book by tonnage being able to use alternative fuels. So alternative fuels, that means hydrogen, ammonia, batteries, LPG, methanol, LNG, and they are not necessarily climate-friendly fuels. They are just requiring different engines. So any conventional ship can also run on biodiesel and be, carbon neutral. So we see a large number of LNG-capable vessels being ordered and increasing rapidly, with lots of methanol and LPG ships in the order book as well, and some ammonia-fueled ships. And this, of course, will have very significant implications for the training of seafarers, so which will have to learn all these new fuels and safety in respect to those fuels. We see that there are plans for making all of these fuels in a carbon neutral way, but there are more demand from shipping than what is probably possible to deliver from the world supply in the short term in 2030, which means that from simulations we have done that shipping will need to really implement energy saving measures over the next years to be able to reach the 2030 goal of IMO. And the simulations indicate that we could possibly cut emissions, energy use and emissions by as much as 16% by 2030. And that is really what over the next few years, what the world fleet should focus on in terms of emission reduction is to save energy, because only half the fuel energy is converted into shaft power, and only about a third is actually producing thrust to propel the hull through the water. But there are a range of technologies that can help us reduce these energy losses, and you are familiar with many of them. But there are many more that can be used and utilized better, and all of these so that you can have weather routing, as we have already talked about, hull cleaning, and so on. And all of these new technologies that will be needed to save energy will also include new skills for seafarers. So we will need not only for the alternative fuels with methanol, LNG, ammonia, hydrogen, but you also need for maybe sails, flattener rotors, air lubrication systems, and other technologies are needed, skills are needed for seafarers to be able to operate them in a safe way. In addition, we have a digital transition where we connect ships to the internet and onshore operation centers. And this is important for energy efficiency by having decision support, as we've already talked about with the weather routing and so on. It's also necessary for ship owners to do efficient emissions reporting. And this can also have potentially new contracts with better incentives for sharing the savings from fuel savings and reduction of emissions. Once again, this also, of course, includes risks such as cybersecurity, which will be very important going forward. And of course, once again, introduces new skills needed for a safe working environment on ships, with needing more technically or cyber competent crew perhaps going forward. And automation, of course, is a very important part here as well. Another important technology that we see is using shore power while in port, providing that what you see on this slide is the well-to-wake emission per kilowatt hour of energy provided to the ship. So in the middle here we have providing diesel power to the ship while in port, and here we have electricity providing energy to the ship. What we show here on the right hand side is that you can reduce greenhouse gas emissions even when you have quite dirty electricity, not pure coal power, but if you have gas electric, for example, power production, then you can actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions by using shore power. On the other hand, if you want to use electric fuels, they must be produced from very green electricity to reduce emissions. And of course, once again, using connecting to and disconnecting from the grid while in port has security and safety issues. And this also for short sea shipping, there is a potential to use batteries in hybrid, plug-in hybrid vessels, at least for ferries and also probably for more short sea shipping. We also have an onboard carbon capture, which is a promising solution. That could be a cost-effective way of decarbonizing shipping. For this solution to be a reality, we need to develop the CCS value chain for capturing CO2 on board, really offloading in dedicated infrastructure for shipping, and then having it stored in CO2 storage facilities underground. So this has a good potential, but it needs development. With all these new fuels being developed and technologies being looked at, we have a global model of the world fleet where we simulate every ship year by year. we use try to figure out which fuels will win. But what we find is that it's highly sensitive to the input values in terms of fuel price and capex, but mostly fuel price. And the point is that in all scenarios we see here, we find a diverse mix of fuels, and we find that small changes to the input can lead to large differences in results. Basically saying it's highly unknown what we will get.
Yes.
And so you should prepare your ships and fleet for the current situation, but use scenarios to prepare for the future, knowing that betting on one fuel is a bet with uncertainty.
Yeah, we understand this is quite a heavy subject to be covered in a couple of minutes. So I think this requires quite an extensive time. I will come back to you, Mr. Eric. Just a question, maybe just need to get back to Captain Nuh, as long he is still with us here. Maybe one of the things like we were just discussing here in Asyad about the NAVDAT, or the similarities or the differences, if it is any, between the NAVDAT and the NAVTEX. And would you just shed a light on this one from a flag perspective, and about the future direction for implementation this system, and if it is an approach that the flag is willing to pursue?
Yes, Mr. Ahmed. Regarding to the NAVDAT, this is the future trend for the organization. I mean, IMO, to make a transition from the old school text nav warning, which you normally receive right now nowadays by NAVTEX, to be shifted to a new integrated system called the NAVDAT. This is basically a layer could be integrated with the electronic chart and information system exists on board the ship. So this will draw a clear and full picture for the mariners about specific hazard or information. So I don't know if you could share the slide number 28. We have an example. It will be so obvious and clear to the audience. If you could please. For example, here we have air pressure data in text format, and this is what's called NAVTEX, and the future trend hopefully to be like a layer integrated to the ECRIS system. It's a visual layer, easier for the mariners to take decision and to avoid risk. And as well, we've got the temperature data is presented or showed as visualized layer. I don't know if it's clear to the audience or not.
Maybe the slide is not clear enough. But anyway,
yeah, but basically the plan for IMO, this is to implement in between 2026 to 2030. So it depends on the readiness for the coastal state and as well ships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can cover in this specific issue from one of the questions, and I think I'll need to head on directly to the question from the audience, as we already have quite a huge number of questions that we will need to filter them so that we can accompany them during the last 10 minutes. So I will head directly to the questions. The first questions that will be directed to Captain Ala Aziz, and it started: how does Asyad Shipping ensure that its fleet adhere to IMO regulations, such as International Convention for the Prevention as a MARPOL, in a short form?
Of course, when it comes down to being an international shipping company, of course the IMO standards are the minimal requirements that needs to be met. So when it comes down to being the vessel will have a set of certificates given to them, and every certificates, of course, you have the statutory certificates for trading, which are basically all the SOLAS requirements, all the MARPOL requirements, all the ISM requirements, etc.
Yeah.
So once you have the MARPOL requirements all covered, as far as your equipment is concerned, as far as your procedures, everything that you're supposed to deal with MARPOL, you will be given certain of certificates on the vessel which proves that the vessel has been abiding by the MARPOL requirements. Some of those certificates are, of course, is your International Oil Pollution Prevention Certificate. You have your International Air Pollution Prevention Certificate, your Sewage Prevention Certificate.
Yeah.
So there is a multiple, I think, of 4 or 5 certificates which the MARPOL will be, which will fall under MARPOL. And as long as the vessel will have those valid certificates, which are also subject to inspections and intermediate surveys and renewal surveys, the vessel will be complying with the IMO requirements.
Great. Another question. It's not clear to me who was directing this question. I think the attorney from Maritime, Mr. Muslim bin Akil. His question directed to Mr. Eric. And how do you foresee the intersection of these two areas, which is initial strategy on reduction of greenhouse emission and the MARPOL 6 amendments? Do you think advanced technologies like predictive analytics, autonomous vessels, and AI-driven environmental monitoring systems will impact not only compliance but also proactive safety measures? Did you get the question, Mr. Eric? Maybe he cannot hear us. Okay. I think we might be having just a glitch. Stay tuned. We'll be back just in 20 seconds just to fix this glitch. Thank you.
Were you talking to me? I had a glitch.
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
Thank you. Technical issue, this as part of the webinars usually. So again, the question, did you capture the question, Eric, Mr. Eric? It's related.
No, sorry.
It was related to the intersection between the initial strategy on reduction of greenhouse emission or GHG emissions and the MARPOL Annex 6. This question, I believe, is directed by Captain Mohammed Al-Yahmadi from Muwasalat Fleet. And this is one part of the question. And the second part is related to, do you think advanced technologies like predictive analytics, autonomous vessels, and AI-driven environmental monitoring system will impact not only compliance but also proactive safety measures?
I think this will be an important part of technology going forward, as we see that with the decarbonization, the cost of shipping could actually double going forward. So there will be a very heavy push to save costs wherever possible. And of course, using this to improve safety is important. Another thing where, maybe not autonomous shipping, but these kinds of technologies can assist is in where you have, you need more and more specialized competence for seafarers, and perhaps this can assist in cases where you don't have to have exact the same competence, but you can share the competence more in a digital way. That's the point. So perhaps autonomous technologies can assist in this way.
Great. Okay. I think we would require more than this time to elaborate and to find even the intersection between MARPOL Annex 6 and the reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, we will be sending this answer from Mr. Eric offline directly to you. I'll need just to go to due to the limitation of time. To Captain Nuh, question to you from the audience, as saying that as Oman continues to develop its maritime infrastructure, how does your department ensure that all navigational technologies and safety protocols comply with IMO regulations, especially concerning newer guidelines like IMO 2020 sulfur cap?
Yeah, I will start from I have finished the last point regarding to the NAVDAT. We have the consultant study to establish new NAVDAT in our coastal. So we believe we need to comply with the IMO vision and plan, and the consultancy should be finished by the end of this year. And we are keen to follow up and monitor the IMO circular in regard to new standards and vision.
So, do you see that this is addressing the issues related to the topic itself?
Yeah, for example, regarding to the autonomous vessel, as it's called MAS, this is not an issue, in national issue, it's international issue, because there's no regulation or legal is covered the MAS operation. So in the IMO council, or committees, they are discussing how to regulate these autonomous vessels, and they planning to implement these legalized document, I believe, in 2026. So each new technology has different type challenge and approach. So this is what has come to my mind regarding to the MAS and autonomous vessels.
Another question, it will be directed to Eric, Mr. Eric. It's related to the amendments that we see in relation to the International Safety Management Code, or the ISM code, and the STCW, and the age of AI, since maritime sector is entering in industrialization 5.0. This question from Muslim bin Aqil. Have you captured the question, Mr. Eric?
Well, possibly. But I will say, this will have to be done in a way that can assist. I think Captain Al-Aziz talked about this earlier. Can assist captains and crew to make a better, more informed judgment. I think that will be a very good way to move forward. And we, of course, also have to be very aware of cybersecurity issues with this and challenges with this going forward. There are many risks with this new technology.
Right. My last question is related to Captain Ala Aziz. It's related to the examples of the emergencies that shifted safety on board the ship towards having a better place to be in for those seafarers. Any examples? Of course, this requires preparation.
As far as disasters are concerned, there is always specific disasters which led to certain conventions. Like when it came down to SOLAS, we all know that Titanic was the issue when it came down to...
I think this is where we're coming from.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, of course, you have also the Herald of Free Enterprise. If I'm not mistaken, that was where there's a full failure in management. So this is where the ISM code came, where, there's a ferry, the Herald of Free Enterprise, where there's many deaths because of lack of management. So there are, big disasters, which, to be very honest, we rather take the learnings and not remember it as much as, it's a very, very, hard thing to deal with, to see the disasters that actually occurred and what we have learned from. But of course, after like a big disaster like the Titanic or the Herald of Free Enterprise, there is always a push for regulations to come in, and I can't remember, many. But after a major pollution incident, I think it happened off the coast of Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong here. Which also led to the requirements of MARPOL as well. So there were a set of disasters that occurred, which cost the industry billions, in losses, and not to mention the lives that were lost.
Of course.
But yeah, this is just some of the things which can come to mind as of now.
Of course, in a nutshell, and speaking about this webinar today, we can't encapsulate everything in 1 hour and discussing all of these features, especially if you talk about a vital pillar when you relate to a safety of navigation or safety of seafarers. So safety of the maritime industry overall, that will be quite a heavy subject. And when you inject it or when you put it side by side with an environment or the green hydrogen or even the ammonia that some of the audience they were clarifying on, and in addition to the strategy that it require more than a small session, I think a workshop by itself that will be covering this aspect. Of course, all of those clarifications will be attended to, and we are coming into the end of this webinar. Unfortunately, we would love to continue more, but we need to stick on the time that we have promised on. I think we have already exceeded by 2 minutes. So thank you so much for your patience. And just at the end, a heartfelt thank you for all seafarers and your services. You work and often, which is often unseen, or sometimes we may say that's unseen, or it's vital to the world economy, to the safety of a global shipping, and to the well-being of countless communities. Congratulations, after all, on your achievements, and let's continue to navigate the future together, and always with the safety first in our hearts. On your behalf as well as an audience, I would like to thank all of the guest speakers who have attended and shared their experience today. And of course, there was some background work which has been preparing for this webinar, from the questions, from the preparation for the presentations. So thank you once again. Thanks to you as an audience who are attending with us, and of course who are watching us as a recorded sessions for this webinar. So stay tuned for our next ASIAD webinars series. Thank you so much. Stay safe and goodbye.